Welcome to this unique series of top 5 amazing moves, and today I'm going to cover the top 5 amazing moves played by Vidit Gujrathi. You might be knowing already that he was the captain of the team and October is his birthday month. So it's a good time to look at his splendid, marvelous, amazing moves from his games. The first position is from the game between Vidit Gujrathi and former world champion Vladimir Kramnik, and here Vidit was white, and this is from the Tata Steel Masters 2019. For a moment it seems like Vidit is a pawn down, but if you look at his pieces, the rook and knight especially, they are very well placed. And this is white to move. I'm giving you a moment so that you could figure out the move, and I'm now going to reveal the answer. He played queen to f4. He's saying take my queen if you want to, but I'm going to checkmate you on f8. So black cannot take the queen because of the mate on f8, and if black decides to play h6 to give the luft for the king, there is rook f8 check that follows, and then after knight f8, queen f8 followed by the mate on g8. If he goes to h7 directly, there is bishop e4 check followed by the check with the queen and then the mate on the next move. So after queen f4, Vladimir Kramnik resigned. Even after queen f4, rook a1 check, white can simply play king h2 and then white is winning anyway. So that was Vidit's amazing move against Vladimir Kramnik. On to the next one now. The next position is from the game between Vidit Gujrathi and Bindrich from the Aeroflot Open 2017, and here it is white to move. You can see that black is threatening to capture the queen. It's very important to identify these threats and take a moment to see if you can find this move. I'm now going to reveal the move. In this position, Vidit played the fabulous knight to e8. The reason why I like this move so much is because Vidit is sacrificing a knight and three pieces are actually able to capture it, but all these moves are losing. For instance, after bishop takes e8, there is a rook f8 check, and after king g7 there is rook g8 checkmate. And if black decides to play knight takes e8, then there is rook f8 check followed by rook g8 checkmate. And then let's say if black decides to play rook takes e8, there follows bishop f6 check, and then the queen is lost. Because after queen g7, white will simply take bishop g7 and then he's losing. So I like this move, knight e8. Another move which is interesting is knight f5 here, with almost a similar idea to get the queen, but here you lose your own queen. After knight c4 you have bishop f6 check, and then after king g8 there is knight h6 check. And then after king f8, you can do this discover bishop into e5 check. The rook is giving the check now, and the queen is hanging. So if the queen comes in between, then white can simply take the queen with his knight, and then you can see the rook is hanging. So he has to take the bishop, and then after knight takes e5, you can see white is going to win this pawn as well, and it's going to win the game. But knight e8, this is more flashy. And you can see that after knight e8, three pieces can capture, but all are losing. So the theme here is interference. So by playing knight e8, he's interfering with the contact of this rook. And it's also clearing the way for the bishop to give a check. So it's interference plus clearance. And I love this position. I love this move played by Vidit. On to the next one. This next position is from the game between Vidit Gujrathi and Debashish. This is from the Isle of Man 2018, and Vidit is white. You can see that the white's pieces are all lined up for attack, and Vidit makes use of all his pieces and conducts a brilliant combination starting from here. In this position, it might seem very obvious to capture this pawn, but black has this resource to come with the bishop to e4. For example, if you play knight ef7, he has this plan in mind. No doubt white is better, but I like the flashy, exciting, fabulous move played by Vidit. And he plays series of good moves in this position. He plays knight takes h7, and there you go. And after knight takes h7, If black takes king takes h7, then you can see that he can take knight d7, and after knight d7 there follows queen h5 check thanks to the spin, and then after king g8 he can play bishop takes g6 and the king side is blown. After fg6 queen g6, it's going to be a checkmate soon. So this was one variation, but after knight h7, if black takes knight takes h7, of course white can simply take this knight, but there is a better move in this position. So here comes the second shot. He plays bishop takes g6 and completely destroying the king side pawn structure. After fg6 the cover is blown, and then there is rook takes g6, and after bishop g7 there comes rook takes g7. You see, this is just a variation. This did not happen in the game, but I'm just showing you how brilliant the attack was conducted. After king g7 there's queen g4 check followed by queen takes g5, and then mate follows. For example, queen h6 and then queen g6, and if he goes to h8 knight f7 follows, and if he goes to f8 there is queen f7 mate. So after knight h7, bishop into g6, Debashish Das played knight to f6. And again, this is another special moment. You have seen a queen sacrifice in the beginning, you have seen the queen sacrifice in the second example, and now Vidit plays queen to h5. What a move. Knight into h5 is not possible because of bishop takes f7, king h8 and rook g8 checkmate. That's a sad place for the king to be. So after queen h5, Debashish Das resigned, and that is how Vidit won this game. Even if black plays bishop e4, there is queen takes h7 and there is this beautiful mate that follows exactly the way I showed you before. On to the next one. This next position is from the game between Vidit Gujrathi and Aryan Tari from FIDE-Chess.com Grand Swiss 2019, and here Vidit is white. It's a typical Catalan position, and Vidit has had a lot of wins in the Catalan opening, and in this position he makes a very nice move. By now it must be clear to you that I am going to show you some fireworks laid out by Vidit, and here he played the amazing knight takes f7. The point is, if black takes bishop takes f7, white has bishop takes knight. So he chops off the defender, which was defending the bishop, and then there is rook takes e7. But that's not all. In this position, after knight takes f7, black should have played bishop takes f7 and accepted that position. But he said, I don't get what you're saying, I don't get your sacrifice, and I'm going to accept that sacrifice and be brave and play king takes f7. And in this position, he asks, what do you have? And Vidit says, I have this tactical shot in the form of rook takes e6, dragging the black king away from its safe place. And black is forced to accept this rook, otherwise taking on f7 at the first place doesn't make sense. So he plays king takes e6, and then Vidit plays this discover check with c5, and now Aryan Tari plays the right move. He goes with his king to d7, which is the best thing to do. But I'm going to show you another variation for the sake of entertainment. What happens if the king goes to f5? There's a very nice variation which follows after queen f7, intending to take advantage of the spin knight. And let's say if black attacks the white queen with knight e5, then white has bishop e4 check, and then queen takes g7 check, and then there is a check with the pawn followed by a check with the bishop, and then you see a beautiful position but a sad place for the king to be. King is checkmated on h3. This did not happen in the game. Let's go back to the game. After knight f7, king f7, rook takes e6, king takes e6, c5 check, he went king d7. And in this position, it looks obvious to give this check, but after bishop h3 check, the king goes back to e8, and you don't have this queen g8 check because of this knight on f6. So in this position, it makes sense to trade off this defender. So in this position, Vidit could have played knight e4 instead of bishop f1. The point being, after knight e4, knight takes e4, bishop takes e4, the threat of bishop f5 check exists, and if black parries that threat with g6, there follows bishop d3 attacking the queen on a6, and if the queen moves, you see black is losing, the b7 falls, and with that white is winning. So that would have been a great finish to the game, but after c5 king d7, Vidit played bishop f1, and then after d3 the game continued. No doubt that white had edge, Vidit had some pressure, but later he eventually managed to win the game. But for me, this moment after knight takes f7 and rook to e6 remains special. On to the next one. And the final move in my list today is this position from the game between Vidit and Artemiev. And here it is white to move. This is from the Lake Sivan Open 2015. And Vidit is white. This is easy, isn't it? So he played queen takes g6. So there were a lot of tactical shots today. And after queen takes g6, at g6 is met by a checkmate with the pawn. Have you ever checkmated with a pawn? If not, I hope there will be a day where you will checkmate your opponent with a pawn. After queen g6, if black plays bishop g7, that doesn't stop anything. After rook g7, black is lost because queen g7 is met by the mate on g7, and if king h8, white can checkmate with rook h7 or queen h7, and the game is over. So I hope you liked these 5 amazing moves. Before you leave, I want to present 2 more positions which I feel deserve some love. It's just that they did not make it into the top 5, but I feel they are equally good. In this position, Vidit is black and La Multoon is white, and this is from Gibraltar Masters 2016, and Vidit found a nice tactical shot. If black plays bishop f4, there is g3 coming, so he plays rook takes f3, so that this pawn is deflected to f3, and after gf3 there is bishop f4, and there is nobody to protect the pawn on h2. And there followed rook d1, and then queen takes h2, followed by queen h1 check, and then rook c2 check, and Vidit won the game. So after queen e1 check, he got his bishop to b4, ensuring that there is no back rank mate. This was one example. There's another example that I'm going to show you now. And this position is from the game between Vidit Gujrathi and Arashchenko Alexander from the year 2017. And in this position, he played queen to d1. The idea is that he wants to go to a1 and check the black king. And in this position, after queen d1, black should have played queen to g6, so that queen a1 check is met by queen to f6. The game would have continued normally. But Arashchenko thought that Vidit has gone with his queen behind. Let me go ahead with my forces. And so he played pawn to f4. He is intending to play queen e5 in case of a check. But what he missed was Vidit's amazing deflection idea. He played rook to b8. And so if black takes the rook on b8, there is this amazing queen a1 check, and after bishop d4, the queen captures the bishop, and after rook f6, the queen captures the rook, and it's a checkmate. So after rook b8, Arashchenko played f3, and then after king h1, he resigned. Because there is no defense. If the queen moves to e7, there is queen a1 check now. Now the queen has to defend f8, has to defend against the check. 2 things are not possible, and white is winning. Because after queen e5, he can simply take the rook and win. So after king h1, Arashchenko resigned. This game was especially great for Vidit because he also managed to cross 2700 by winning this game. That's all from my side. Thank you for watching. Please like the video if you like it, and do subscribe to our channel, and I'll be back soon with another one. Until then, take care. Bye bye.